Good morning, friends. Today I'd like to give you guys a little bit of history. Check this thing out. This is a rigger that I personally designed and built back in, I believe it was like 2011. I want to give you guys some truths and let you know what really is behind our carbon fiber heritage. I studied composites for many years. I worked at BBY Racing, which was RC boat carbon fiber specialist, Randy Naylor. He taught me a lot about how a hull is laid up, how hardware is fabricated, and he had me doing it. He didn't have me doing layups, but he had me building hardware and modifying and polishing and machining. I got a strong understanding of that, but I really wanted to know how to lay up hulls and how to design them. So I researched for a year. I researched how composites are made and everything about that. Then I started studying for another year. I studied through videos and very thick books. Then I learned under the apprenticeship of ACP Composites. I also learned from a gentleman named Chris Harris, who laid up his own saw riggers and taught me a technique, which I'm going to show you guys in a minute, step by step. The gratification and feeling of laying up your own hull from the ground up for designing a rigger, laying it up, and then competing with it and going a speed that no one in the world has gone on that type of cells is very empowering. And this is before GPSs. Well, we had GPSs, but they weren't allowed in competition. You know what I mean? We used the GPS as a tool to get a baseline on how fast our stuff was going. Then you have to do it through a real trap. Two ways. One way, then you got to come back the other way, and they average your speed between the two passes, because there's things that can play a role. If there's a current in the water, whatever speed that current is, it's going to add to your speed. If there's wind, you can get a wind on the back of it, and it affects the speed. So what we do in those competitions, we show the top speed. We show the very top speed that things gone on one pass, but then what your actual record is the two-way average of the two passes. But enough of this, and I'll get back to this boat, and I will show you more detail of it after I show you guys detailed layup of my first saw rigger. So you see from the ground up how I've created mold, designed the hull, created molds, laid it up, and it was just a lot of fun. Stay tuned. Hi there, I'm Bill Oxidean. I raced radio controlled model boats for over 25 years. Over that time, I won a lot of races and broke a lot of records, and I learned a lot, not just about boats, but about life. Eventually, I graduated to full-size drag boats, and I've had a great time doing that. Now, I have my own RC boat factory. We make the world's fastest, most reliable radio-controlled boats. Join us as we show you all about it. First, what I made was a test part. The procedure I'm doing was called a moldless composite, where the actual part is the mold. So I took and shaped a foam plug out of something I sculpted. It's just a shape. Then I laid it up and cleared it. Then I wanted to know how to cut a hatch without messing the whole thing up. So I test cut a hatch on my test part. Then, after I cut the hatch, I removed the foam. I just chipped it out with my fingers and my fingernail. Basically, it sounds like a primitive method, but it worked really well. I also wanted to try a removal technique that people taught me, where I pour a chemical in there like acetone and it melts all of the foam out. Well, I did that and it ruined the test part. The good thing, the test part was already made and I already got a beautiful piece before I learned that the chemical would hurt the part. Then I started making aerodynamic booms. They start with an aluminum core, that's K&S tubing. Then I use carbon fiber sock and wrap it around it. Then I wet the sock down completely on the side. Before I wet the sock completely down while it's on the aluminum boom. Then, it's an interesting technique. I put shrink wrap around the whole thing. The inside of shrink wrap has a natural releasing agent, believe it or not. Most shrink wrap does, so the wires don't stick to the shrink wrap when you shrink it down. So I shrink it down and it became like a vacuum bag, and sucked all the carbon down to the tube. Remove the shrink wrap, sand it down clear, and you've got your aero booms. Then then it was time for me to start forming my mold, and I molded some of the hardware into the composite. Then I started the layup. Laid this thing up, got it sanded down and cleared. Then I painted the booms, the tips, because it's very hard to see a black boat, especially that small, when you're trying to do a two-way pass. And then I competed with this thing, and I broke an incredible record on 1S Lipo. I went damn near 80 miles an hour on 1-cell Lipo with an RC car motor. 1-cell Lipo. We'll get back to that later. Here's some footage of me actually running the boat.
Come on, really? Okay, I'm gonna do more passes.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Those videos are super old. I found them in my archives. They're from back in between 2009 and 2011. Now, that was the original version 1 of that carbon fiber rigger. Unfortunately, after that competition, I went back and that boat sunk. Okay, and what really sucked is the race officials down at the LSRs, they'll go after anybody's boat if it sinks. They'll make sure they get it. Someone else's boat sunk right after that. They made priority of his, and they didn't realize I could hear him on the boat. And they were like, "What about that other boat?" They're like, "Fuck that boat," and fuck mine, right? It was just a little rigger. But that's neither here nor there. That was very disappointing. As you see, I put a lot work into that boat, and there was a lot more than you could see because I had my settings from prior versions of that rigger. And I had to, fortunately I kept templates, and then I constructed this one. This version is much better, and this one did about 80 miles an hour. What was weird about that is when you're making riggers and you're doing technology at this level, and your competitors aren't, it's really hard on them. Because, I'm the one that's going out and testing and figuring how this thing works and grinding out custom props and stuff. And when I get to the competition, they just improvise on my work. They see what I did and then go in their box and get 2 or 3 guys to come together and let's all go against Bill Oxidean. And you guys have seen how that works even here on YouTube. I make the world's fastest ready to run. You've got all kinds of fucking goofballs like getting a TFL Zonda and trying to pretend that it's it. And that's basically what started happening to me with the straight lines. And so that's why I got out of sanctioned competition with RC boats and started racing real drag boats, because it just got too weird. People look at my real lifestyle, and I'm a fun guy. You know what I mean? I've got fancy cars and fun, and I had a party lifestyle. So it's easy to kind of discredit. This guy didn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know. But I'm smarter than any of them. It took them combined to try to beat me, and they still never did. In fact, my records are still on the books. This boat has a record still on the books from 2011 that no one to this day has been able to beat, even the people that were cheating. And that says a lot. Let's go over the boat. Back then, I was racing for a company called Etti Marine, E-T-T-I, out of Hong Kong, and they make the sickest hardware for little ecos and mini hydros. This coupler, I machined myself, but this is an Etti wire drive going through the boat. This thing is so engineered that I have a cable steering because it has to go through all this, and a hole went through the hardware block I made. As you can see, I molded in the rudder bracket and the strut bracket. That's molded in to the composite. It's a piece of wood right here that I actually drilled holes in to make it even lighter. This boat, I never disclosed the weight of it because I knew that my competitors would, if they truly knew how light this thing was, they would do everything in the world to get a boat this light. This thing is literally a feather. This thing does not weigh a pound. It weighs a few ounces. It weighs maybe I think it weighs a little less than a half a pound, the entire boat, hull and hardware. And I don't know that anyone has ever made a rigger like that light, except for me. My wooden version is lighter, and one day I'll do a video on that one too. Ball bearing strut, as you can see, went to this wire drive. Stainless steel rudder. I used a plastic clevis and aluminum screws. That screw is titanium. I machined tiny little brackets to accommodate everything. And I designed this aero wing. I studied aero and hydrodynamics intensely for a long time before making this boat. This boat has a completely flat belly pan. There's some people that see it run and they think it runs like a tail dragger, like it's doing a wheelie like these European ones now that they have, the self-riding ones. This looks similar to it, but it was created way before they started doing that. And this is not a high rider. In fact, I'm gonna take it over here and show you some of my ride technology, what I've learned over the years. Okay, and I haven't exposed this stuff in years because some of the people out here that are like using stuff against me or like doing stuff, they learn it from me and then turn around and pretend they didn't learn it from me and then try to use it against me or try to whatever. I don't like them to know real techniques or real stuff that I've learned that they just can't, that they don't tell you on Facebook. Okay, now see, this boat is sitting on the strut and on the ride pads. This boat rides very high off the water. Very high off the water. This boat rides higher off the water than a boat twice the size. Look at all the light of day, how much you can see underneath this thing when it's riding by. That's because I want it to be somewhat of an airplane, and that's why the wing. What I learned, and I shouldn't be telling you this is one of Randy Naylor's secrets that he taught me, but you know what? Me and Randy love this sport, and we want people to thrive and flourish. I made these skis that go on the sponsons right in the center. If you look at them, they're skis, and they're made out of balsa wood. These skis have a 5/8 runner. It takes 5/8 of an inch for a radio-controlled boat to have enough planing surface. And so I use the minimal amount of planing surface. These sponsons have 0 dihedral in them. They're completely flat. Not only are they flat, but they've been blueprinted. And that's something that no one on YouTube, Facebook, or any of that stuff will teach you. And I'm going to explain it to you right now how sponson blueprinting goes. I took a table like this and put sandpaper on it, put fine sandpaper on it. After this boat was completely assembled, I went over the sandpaper like this. And that trued and completely flattened and matched and mated those two riding surfaces. So they're perfectly flat. And the aerodynamics can come in and kick in and start working. Before I get into too much, you know what I mean, there's the aero booms. Also, what I started doing is some of the epoxy chipped off. You notice how that's kind of aeroed right there? I mean, so it's not only an aerodynamic boom, but it's aerodynamic at the joint as well. Aerodynamics play a huge role when you're trying to go fast. Before I let you guys go on this one, I have plans. I might take this rigger and have my factory digitally transpose it and enlarge it, make it a little bigger, and provide it for you guys. Yes, you will be able to buy here in the USA the sickest riggers. And I'm telling you, these aerodynamics and my technology, what I understand about riggers, having broken numerous records with them, numerous real sanctioned records, is unreal. Unreal. This thing will fly. Remember, this thing went on 1 cell Lipo, almost 80 miles an hour. Not 2S, not 3S, not 4S, not 6S, not 10S, what these guys are doing nowadays. 1 cell Lipo. And when I did that, it was faster than anybody in the world. In Germany, anywhere. I made the highest score. And that I proved to myself a lot. You know what I mean? I don't need a bunch of power to go fast. Now, if I can make something go 80 on 1S, just imagine when I put my mind onto something on 4S. You know what I mean? I went on with the same boat on 2S. It went well over 90 miles an hour on 2S Lipo with an RC car motor. But I guess that's it for today's history lesson. But when you order our boats and you work with me and you deal with me, just know what you're dealing with and what you're working with. Somebody that's got unmatched experience. Nobody out there doing the speed run shit, or anybody out there trying to tell or that'll tell you that I don't know what I'm doing, has a pimple on the ass of the experience I have. Until they spend $1 million or make $1 million on RC boats, don't talk to me, because you don't know what you're doing. Until you have over 100 speed records, don't even look at me and try to tell me shit. I know I'm a bit excited, but if you want to know some more real and deal with somebody that really knows what they're doing, get your boats here at Oxidean Marine. We're open 7 days a week. We answer our phone. We actually play with these boats, unlike the others. We play with them, and you're getting something good. Subscribe to our channel, smash that like button, and continue enjoying radio control model boating. Bill Oxidean and the sick-ass rigger, over and out.